verse 203. Not to be attached to anything existent, truly knowing what the truth of solitude is to walk all alone. The fruit of Pratyekabuddhahood, which is above speculation, is what I teach. So, here we've got talk of Pratyekabuddhahood. And the Pratyekabuddha is one of these categories of Buddhist beings which gives Buddhists an opportunity to scratch their heads over. This verse and the previous few verses have really been concerned with the nature of the Buddha's teaching. In the previous verse, verse 202, the Buddha tells us that he teaches the doctrine of generality to the Shravakas. The doctrine of generality is statements about the world, statements about the nature of the world, which can be understood on a conceptual level. In the previous verse, verse 201, the Buddha tells us that what he teaches to the children of the Buddha, the children of the victorious one, what he teaches is transcendental knowledge. And this is direct understanding. Now in the current verse, verse 203, what the Buddha is really saying about Pratyekabuddhahood, which is above speculation, the whole point of it is that the teaching cannot be communicated. And the Buddha himself was almost a Pratyekabuddha. A Pratyekabuddha is understood as one who has realized the truth for themselves and not bothered to teach it. And when the Buddha reached enlightenment, he saw no point in trying to teach it. Because how can this truth be communicated? But there was an understanding that arose in him that there'll be some that will be receptive to the teaching. There will be some who, as a result of the Buddha's activity, will reach enlightenment. So he became the Buddha, the perfectly enlightened one. But there is still this quality of the teaching that it cannot be communicated. This is why it's described as the truth of solitude. Once you've realized this, once you've realized the truth of existence, once you've realized reality as it is, then the point is it's a solitary realization. So you're not attached to anything existent. So you give up on the conventional beliefs. You realize that there's nothing of any validity within conventional understanding. You realize that you walk alone. You have to get on with it. You have to get on with whatever you have to get on with in the nature of your realization. And this is what the Buddha teaches. So how can the Buddha teach this if it cannot be communicated? Well, it seems very mysterious. It seems very mysterious. But actually, this is this is the common state of affairs. There is very little that can be communicated. The Buddha is actually talking about the way things are generally in our everyday experience. Very little can actually be communicated, because most of what is going on is experience, and the experience I have is my experience alone. The experience that you have is your experience alone. So when I experience the colour blue, only I am experiencing the colour blue. You can experience the colour blue, but that is something entirely unique to you. We assume we're having the same experience, but we have absolutely no way of knowing. And if by some strange development I somehow experienced a new colour, how could I communicate that to you? On a more everyday level, how can we communicate the experience of colour to somebody who's been blind from birth? It cannot be done. So that's just the colour blue. We've got all the other colours. We've got shapes and so on. How do you convey visual phenomena to a blind person? A person who's been blind from birth? And what about music? Can you describe a piece of music and in that way convey the experience of it? Of course not. You can describe your response to it. But the only way to experience a piece of music is to hear it. And this is it. Experience cannot be communicated. All you can do is direct somebody to a position whereby they might have a similar experience. That's as best as we can do. And that's what the Buddha tried to do. Now the only things that can actually be communicated are ideas. Ideas. This is the appeal of something like mathematics. Because an idea is somewhat removed from an actual experience. Perhaps this is why a lot of people have trouble with mathematics, because it's removed from their experience. It's about ideas, about arguments, and so the truth of an argument can be conveyed. This is quite interesting, isn't it? So some people, they're not interested in that because it's too far removed from their experience. But on the other hand, what is often happening is that our experience is being replaced by ideas. And we take these ideas as reality. And this is what the mathematicians and scientists would have us do. They will say, your experience isn't what's real. Mathematics is what is real. So we've got to be careful for this slightly dodgy shiftiness. We have to be careful we don't replace our experience of what is true by ideas of what is true. So, there's nothing abstract about this teaching of Pratyekabuddhahood. It's just saying how things actually are. Reality can only be experienced. Ideas flatten that experience. When we relate to ideas as reality, our sense of being is siphoned off and diminished. But when we come back to the truth of our own experience, there's something vibrant about it. There's something mysterious about it. There's something complete about it. And we come back once more to a resurrected sense of being. And this cannot be communicated, is what is described here as above speculation.